So, Barry, how does the care planning process play into how you handle abuse and neglect cases?
So most, but not all of the cases that we handle involving nursing homes involve some breakdown in the care planning process. And when we look at a chart and we review the care plan serves as a set of lenses that we look through to identify where are the breakdowns in the care planning process. And where you find breakdowns in the care planning process, that really serves as a basis for a case or a claim against the nursing home.
The first step you mentioned in the care planning process was the assessment. How does a poor assessment play into your investigation of a case?
Well, there's a saying, garbage in, garbage out. And when you have a bad assessment, that tends to lead to a bad care plan. The things that are really needed to protect a resident from having a bad outcome aren't included in the care plan, is essentially what happens. The most common thing that you see when you have a bad assessment is that you have some risk that's either understated or not recognized at all, so that when the care plan is put into place, there's either no care plan that's put in place to identify a specific risk, or you end up with a care plan which is really inadequate to address the risks that are involved. For example, I just worked on a couple of cases where the resident choked to death on food. And in both of the cases that I'm thinking about, there was no formal assessment done of the resident's risk of choking. As a result, there was no care plan that was put into place to prevent that choking from happening, and unfortunately that was exactly what occurred. These are bad outcomes which are sadly kind of predictable when there's a breakdown in the care planning process.
The second step is care planning. How does that play into your investigation of the case?
So the care planner is the actual steps that are supposed to be done day to day, shift to shift to prevent the bad outcome from happening. And there are two basic fact patterns that we look at. Either there's a failure to care plan for a known risk, or the steps that are outlined in the care plan are really inadequate to address the risks that are present. So I handled a case a number of years ago where the client's mother was a known fall risk. The nursing home, for various reasons, elected to not care plan for the fall risk. And surprise, she fell, she broke her hip and her ankle. So, these are the kinds of things that can happen.
Now, the third step is communication. How important is that in your investigation?
It's something that you can't investigate pre-suit, but once the case gets into suit, we take depositions of members of the nursing staff, the nurses, the aides, and so forth. And if they can't explain how the care plan is communicated to them, that's a strong indication that they didn't know what was actually contained in the care plan.
So then the fourth step is implementation. How is that part of your investigation?
Well, it's really pretty simple. This is what's supposed to be done day to day, shift to shift. When you see breakdowns in implementation, it's a very clear sign that there's been neglect on the part of the nursing home. So the questions you're really asking are, why was this intervention put into place in the care plan, and what was intended to prevent? And then when it wasn't done, how did this bad outcome result? And the bad outcomes are really very predictable once the steps that are outlined in the care plan aren't actually carried out. I had a case I worked on with a lady who needed to be transferred in a Hoyer lift. And what a Hoyer lift is, it's a giant sling that you use to lift somebody out of bed into a wheelchair or to a chair. And the care plan called for a two-man transfer with a Hoyer lift. And there was one day that they were running shorthanded at this lady's nursing home. An aide tried to do it with one person, and she fell out of the sling and she broke her pelvis. The care plan wasn't followed. You end up with a bad result. So implementation is a key part of what we look at when we are investigating a nursing home case.
The fifth step is evaluation. How's that part of your investigation?
Well, it really fits hand in glove with the last step, which is revision of the care plan. And basically what it stands for is that if things have changed or things aren't working, you need to change the care plan. Having a care plan that isn't working or isn't adequate for what you're trying to get done isn't a good thing. It needs to be changed. So I handled a case a few years ago where a woman was a known fall risk. Part of the care plan was for the use of a bed alarm, which is basically an alarm that sounds when somebody gets out of bed. There are two basic kinds. There's a clip alarm that gets clipped onto people's clothes, and then there's a pressure alarm which goes under the sheets, and when the pressure changes on this alarm strip, the alarm goes off. And the nursing home had been using the clip style alarm. And she was able to take it off, and she took it off frequently. It was in the nursing notes that she was taking off the clip alarm, but they left it in place instead of putting the pressure sensitive alarm under the sheet. And sure enough, one night she needed to get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. She unhooked the clip alarm, was on her way to the bathroom when she fell and broke her hip. That was a situation where the failure to evaluate the effectiveness of the existing care plan using the clip alarm and to revise it when it wasn't working was really a cause of this lady's falling and breaking her hip. That's a real clear example of how the evaluation and revision aspects of the care planning process play into how do I investigate nursing home cases.
And how does this framework apply?
So virtually all nursing home cases involve some type of a breakdown in the care planning process. Not everyone does, but it certainly is a starting point for the vast majority of cases that arise out of bad outcomes in nursing homes.
You're watching Fighting for What's Right with attorney Barry Doyle. Feel free to subscribe to our channel and check out our website, fightingforwhat'sright.com.